Imagine a world where Patrick Star actually has a job, not just tagging along with SpongeBob or accidentally helping for 5 minutes, but clocking in, taking orders, and serving customers. Well, it might be worse than you think. Patrick wouldn't just fail, and not in the way you'd expect, because we've seen Patrick help out at the Krusty Krab before, and it never ends well. But those were one-off gags, temporary chaos. What if Mr. Krabs actually hired him for real? Let's get one thing straight. Patrick is not built for labor. He lives under a rock. He naps more than he talks. His biggest ambition is figuring out if mayonnaise is an instrument.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And weirdly, he seems kind of proud of that. But he's not completely useless. We've seen him sell chocolate, pretend to be a superhero, and even help SpongeBob deal with royalty. It's rare, but when he's motivated, Patrick can participate in society briefly. And that's the key. He's not lazy out of rebellion. He's lazy because he's Patrick, just like a toddler with the strength of a forklift and the attention span of a goldfish. He's not like Squidward, who chooses to be a hater but knows how the job works. Patrick's problem isn't attitude, it's that his brain is buffering. He can technically work, he just needs constant direction, and the motivation has to be incredibly simple. Then again, when Patrick does get motivated, it's usually for the wrong reasons. The case in point is the episode Big Pink Loser. He isn't chasing a personal purpose. He's chasing SpongeBob's lifestyle, owning a lot of trophies. He's not doing his job because he wants to feel the accomplishment, he simply wants the trophy, because it's shiny. The second it gets hard, he gives up. Relatable? Yes. Reliable? Absolutely not. And when Patrick fails, it's rarely out of spite. It's just because basic functions, like cleaning or thinking, are hard for him. This makes him strangely lovable, but also a workplace liability. The other issue is that Patrick forgets everything.
Where'd my candy bar go?
It's like putting a goldfish in charge of inventory. You know that it's going to be a devastating shift. And why does this matter, you ask? Because if we're imagining Patrick working full-time at the Krusty Krab, we're not just asking, what job would he do? We're asking, could he handle cleaning? Rush hours? Orders stacking up? Could he even get through a shift? Without SpongeBob coaching him through every single second, the answer's probably no. But what if someone did coach him? That's where things get interesting, and we'll hit that next. Okay, let's say that Krabs is desperate for a new worker for whatever reason. And Patrick walks in with no resume, no shoes, and no brain. Krabs would still hire him anyway, because cheap labor is still labor, technically. The big question is, what role would they even give him? Let's start with the obvious. Fry cook. It's SpongeBob's position and Krusty Krab's most sacred task. But cooking requires timing, coordination, basic hygiene, and the ability to distinguish meat from anything else. You know Patrick will fail all of these, right?
First, get a jar. Patrick, that's a pickle. No. No.
Patrick can't even tell a condiment from a household object. I'm not even sure that Patrick understands what cooking is all about. And don't even get me started on hygiene. Yeah, I'm not eating that. Krusty Krabs itself isn't known for hygiene in the show. We have seen a lot of OSHA-level violations over the years, but there are standards, okay? So unless Bikini Bottom suddenly develops a taste of burnt coal for fast food, this one's a hard no. What about the register? Compared to cooking, being a cashier seems simple. Take orders, handle money, be mildly polite. But here's the thing. Squidward may be a jerk, but at least he's functional. Meanwhile, Patrick? I don't think he could even count to 10.
3, 4... What's gonna happen next? 5? Holy super happy fun time!
He doesn't grasp the pricing concept, let alone actually counting money. He'd probably try to eat the register if it made a weird noise. Besides, I don't even think Krabs wanted Patrick to touch his money at all after what happened last time.
Can I eat now?
Also, Patrick doesn't know how to interact with people unless they're SpongeBob or someone shaped like ice cream. So yeah, the cashier is out. Now, cleaning duty or janitorial work? Sounds like a good fit, right? Low responsibility, minimal customer interaction, just sweep, scrub, and don't mess things up. Except, Patrick doesn't believe in soap. I don't think someone who's proud to be dirty likes to do cleaning duty at all.
Don't wash your hands, Patrick.
Never have, never will.
Not only will Patrick not clean, he will redistribute filth. He would only add an extra task for both SpongeBob and Squidward at the end of the shift. You know, there's one time when Patrick actually did a good job at cleaning, just not in a hygienic way.
Okay.
Which, honestly, should be a fireable offense, but it's Krusty Krab, and we've seen worse. So yeah, I don't think Krusty Krab says any job for him after all. But maybe we're thinking about this the wrong way. What if Patrick wasn't hired to do labor? What if his job was just to be Patrick? A walking, talking marketing campaign? A job as a mascot? Think about it. He's loud, he's memorable, he's so blissfully clueless he might be entertaining by accident. Give him a Krabby Patty costume, plant him outside the Krusty Krab, and let him do whatever comes naturally. Which is mostly falling over and yelling confusing things like, "Order the invisible fries!" It sounds ridiculous, and it is, but it worked in No Hat for Pat. Not that part. I mean the part where people get entertained by his falling jokes. Patrick spends the whole day falling over a plank for the sake of entertainment. Not because he's good at it, but because his constant falling becomes a public spectacle. Mr. Krabs loves free anything, especially advertising, and Patrick in all his weird glory could go viral. And it's not the first time he's entertained a crowd. He's already proven he can entertain kids too. Remember Goofy Goobers?
I wanna crack this nut!
Sure, that was probably a lawsuit, but still, he held their attention. But in theory, this might be his best shot. If there's one thing Patrick is good at, it's being Patrick. Big, dumb, funny, and weirdly endearing. And in a world where attention is currency, that might be enough. He doesn't have to be reliable, he just has to be memorable. And Patrick's never had a problem with that. Okay, enough with the jokes. Let's talk a bit more seriously now. If we're being honest, Patrick isn't qualified for any job at the Krusty Krab for now. But here's the twist in this whole Patrick gets a job thought experiment. What if Patrick could improve? Like, actually grow into the role, not as a gag, but genuinely. What if, given enough time, structure, and encouragement from SpongeBob, maybe Patrick could actually get better? Now, before you laugh, let's look at the evidence. In Big Pink Loser, Patrick shows the rarest thing in his entire character arc: motivation. He wants to achieve something. He even started working at the Krusty Krab, agreed to the idea of working, and for a moment, he kinda is. He sweeps, he scrubs, he follows directions. He's not good at it, but he's trying, and you can see the genuine effort on his face. Sure, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's willing to listen and learn as long as the instructions are simple, direct, and repeated like 14 times. He even mimics SpongeBob's exact movements just to stay on track. That's not just effort, that's progress, by Patrick standards. If anyone can turn Patrick into a halfway functioning employee, it's this sponge. The man has the patience of a sea saint. He believes in his friends even when they're actively setting the building on fire. And most importantly, he speaks fluent Patrick. Would SpongeBob have to walk him through every single task? Absolutely. Would it take months before Patrick could make a Krabby Patty without eating it? Probably. But with structure, with a steady routine, and maybe some visual reminders duct taped to his forehead, Patrick might actually stabilize. We're not talking about Employee of the Month goals here, obviously. As long as Patrick doesn't cause a fire and remember not to mop with food, that's a win in my book. And that sense of accomplishment, that could spark a new side of Patrick. And believe it or not, I think that Patrick is weirdly good at customer service. I mean, we've seen flashes of it.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
That might not be the best example, but the point is that he's loud, he's confident, and unpredictable, and somehow it works. Patrick doesn't follow customer service rules, he rewrites them using bad logic. Someone complains about the food, he agrees with them, then upsell more. Someone want a refund? He says, "Sure, refund these nuts." It shouldn't work, but people will be too confused to fight back. And honestly, SpongeBob's too nice sometimes. He apologizes and overcompensates too much. But Patrick? He's blunt, sassy, and if Patrick did stick around long enough to stabilize, he might actually click with someone unexpected. Squidward. Think about it. Squidward's dry jokes and Patrick's absurd logic, together, they become Bikini Bottom's weirdest customer service duo. Two guys who don't care, don't try, and somehow still keep the line moving. SpongeBob's over in the kitchen losing his mind. Meanwhile, Patrick and Squidward are roasting a customer for asking if the Krabby Patties are gluten-free. And just when you think Patrick has no useful skills left, there's one more thing. The man accidentally created one of the most successful ad campaigns in Bikini Bottom history.
Chum is fun.
That's right. Patrick came up with Chum is Fun, a slogan so stupid, but it worked. He didn't change the food, he didn't clean the place, he just said something weird, and people fell in love with it. So maybe if Patrick wasn't hired to flip patties, but to slap slogans on signs like "Our grease is free" or "Come for the food, stay for the goods," it might have become a success. But here's what really sells me on this whole idea. Imagine all the episodes we could get if Patrick worked at the Krusty Krab. You've got SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward. 3 neighbors, 3 clashing personalities, now also stuck together in the same job every single day. It's not just a job at that point, it's a 24/7 comedy pressure cooker. The setup writes itself. Patrick messed something up, SpongeBob panics trying to fix it, and Squidward dies a little inside. Then Krabs joins the scene by screaming because his business suffered financially again. And it's perfect, because Patrick joining the team doesn't just affect him. It flips the entire Krusty Krab dynamic on its head. Cheapskate Krabs runs his business on 2 things, greed and free labor. Now imagine how he reacts when Patrick walks in and says, "I'll pay you to let me work here." We know SpongeBob would do it, so of course Patrick would too. He's basically SpongeBob without the skills. For a few days, Krabs would be thrilled. Free labor? Of course. But he also gets extra muscle for weird side hustles like Krusty Towers or the freezer job. But it wouldn't last long. Once Patrick starts breaking equipment, driving away customers, and setting fire to things, Krabs would realize he's losing money just by keeping Patrick on the property. Eventually, he would have to choose between profit or patience. Spoiler alert. It's always profit. Now, SpongeBob would be ecstatic. If Patrick got a job at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob would lose his mind in a good way. His best friend, at work, together, every day? Dream scenario. He would train Patrick, encourage him, celebrate the tiniest victories like they were Nobel Prizes. And honestly, that blind optimism might be the only reason Patrick survives his first week. But it wouldn't be sustainable, because as Patrick's mistakes pile up, SpongeBob's workload doubles. He's flipping patties, correcting orders, saving the grill from spontaneous combustion, all while trying to protect Patrick's feelings. Eventually, even SpongeBob would start to crack. Slowly burned out from all the work, he might be the second Squiddy one day. Still, SpongeBob's loyalty might be the only thing keeping Patrick employed. Without him, Patrick's gone before lunch.
You're fired!
Now Squiddy, oh boy. He already hates his job. He hates SpongeBob's cheerfulness. He hates customers, and now you're telling him Patrick's here too? That's Squidward's villain origin story. From day one, he'd be done, gone, checked out emotionally, faking another medical emergency just to get out of training Patrick. But over time, something weird might happen. Patrick's incompetence might make Squidward look competent. Suddenly, he's not the worst employee anymore. And that tiny boost in status? Squidward would cling to it with all the petty energy in his body. Squidward is no longer just miserable because he's got someone to bounce off. Patrick becomes the only coworker who doesn't annoy him because he's just as over it as Squiddy. And the best thing is, with Patrick on staff, the Krusty Krab becomes a full-blown circus. Mr. Krabs loses money but gains attention. SpongeBob's running on stress and friendship. Squidward's in emotional exile, and Patrick is just vibing. He's not aware of the chaos, he is the chaos. But somehow, that chaos becomes entertainment. Customers start showing up to watch it happen. Patrick becomes a sideshow attraction. There's merch, t-shirts, Memes. The Krusty Krab goes viral not because it's good, but because it's fascinatingly dysfunctional. And at the center of that mess is one pink starfish with zero clue and infinite confidence. It's a completely different energy. Not efficient maybe, but definitely unforgettable. So, could Patrick actually work at the Krusty Krab? Not by normal standards, not in a world with rules and consequences, but the Krusty Krab isn't normal. It's a barely legal fast food trap held together by grease, glitter, and SpongeBob's nervous system.
2 spatulas to increase productivity, Mr. Krab. Faster, SpongeBob, faster.
So honestly, Patrick might not just survive there, he might thrive. And maybe that's why the idea of him working at the Krusty Krab hits so hard. But look, over the years, Krusty Krab has survived Healthy Inspector, Plankton invasions, and SpongeBob working overtime. So honestly, Patrick joining the team might not break it. And in Bikini Bottom, it's the kind of disaster that fits the town. Because in a town where nothing makes sense, maybe being completely useless is oddly valuable. And speaking of Bikini Bottom, this town has so much magic touch in it, some people are trying so hard to recreate it. Not inspired by it, not influenced by it, I mean straight up copy the formula, loud characters, wacky humor, weird underwater energy. Some shows thrived, most didn't, and a few crashed harder than Patrick in a job interview. You will see them in our next video. See you there.